Next up, crafty veteran, we have Raphael Assunção fighting Marlon Moraes, and Assunção is a plus 150 underdog. What's going on here?
And this is the second of my straight bets. I already bet $100 on Raphael Assunção at plus 160 already, 100 to make 160. And just like you thought Eric Silva was the steal of the fight, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this line come out at some places. Look, Marlon Moraes has never fought in the UFC ever, and it's not like Raphael Assunção. I mean, I can't believe they're giving your UFC debut against Raphael Assunção. This is a guy who's 8-2 in the UFC, and this is his list of wins. TJ Dillashaw, former bantamweight champion of the world, Aljamain Sterling, Brian Caraway. I mean, the list goes on. He has beaten some of the best guys in the world. His only losses are the rematch against TJ Dillashaw, and Assunção is coming off an injury in that one, and his first ever UFC fight against... No, his first ever UFC fight against Eric Koch. That was WEC.
Yes, he got KO'd by Eric Koch.
I mean, this guy's really good everywhere, Assunção. He's not a huge puncher. He's not a huge finisher, but he's really, really good ever. The fact that you beat TJ Dillashaw, not in a fluke, not some one-punch fluke or caught him in a choke, in a decision fight. You outworked and, beat TJ Dillashaw.
TJ in a decision.
Beat Aljamain Sterling.
They fought again, and TJ was able to beat Assunção in a decision, and, it was a close fight.
Yeah.
So, and TJ did his homework, came prepared, had improved a lot, and squeaked out a decision. So, yeah, you're right. Raphael Assunção, very talented fighter. I was surprised to see him at a plus 150 underdog, but Marlon Moraes, people are loving on this guy. He's coming over from the World Series of Fighting. He's riding a 13-fight win streak, and 7 of those have been title fights.
And you know what I've noticed here, and I can't believe that this is happening, but the big three from WSOF who all joined UFC recently as WSOF went through an ownership change, Branch, Justin Gaethje, and Marlon Moraes, they're all getting betting action. They were betting Branch in his fight. He won. We thought it was a good value as well. Yeah. But they're betting Moraes, and everyone keeps asking me, when are you putting odds up on Gaethje Johnson? I didn't realize how popular WSOF was because the ratings weren't, huge or anything, but all of a sudden, their 3 top stars come over to the UFC, and they're all getting bet on. The problem with Marlon Moraes, and nothing against his record in WSOF, he's never fought anyone of the level of caliber of Aljamain Sterling, TJ Dillashaw, Uriah Faber, Hall of Famer, any of those guys that Assunção has already beat. And, look, I watched the first Josh Hill fight. I love Marlon Moraes. Hey, I'm a fan if you're watching. I thought you lost. I thought Josh Hill beat him the first time they fought. I thought it was really clear. I thought Josh Hill really beat him the first time they fought, and that's Josh Hill. His last win, Marlon Moraes, in World Series of Fighting, the guy hurt his knee and just quit, and that goes down as a TKO injury. So some of these wins are a little, So, look, I think he's good. He's exciting to watch. He gets after it. He has really fast hands. But Raphael Assunção, we know what we're getting here. A proven commodity, legitimate top 5, 135-pounder.
Yep, I'm loving Raphael Assunção in here, and I'm looking at that as a part of this parlay where we just talked about. That would be a great parlay. The Raphael and Eric.
Yeah, totally.
And then the girls over.
There's
the 3 parlay right there.
Yeah,
that's good. I agree with you, Nick. I was just thinking about throwing those 2 in a little parlay myself.
Yeah,
I'm definitely taking both of them. Eric Silva, Raphael Assunção. There's straight up some value here. I'm betting them. Matt's betting them. Nick's parlaying them. So you better believe there's some value.
Yeah, there's going to be some value there.
And moving on down the card, anyone else you really want to talk about? Yuri Alcantara against Brian Kelleher. No surprise there. Yuri Alcantara minus 320 favorite against a guy who I believe this is his first UFC fight.
Yeah, and I bet this one, and I don't always recommend to people to lay a big price, but I ended up laying 550 out total on this fight, 100 on that total, 100 on Assunção to make 160, and I laid 310 to make 100 on Yuri Alcantara. I think this is a complete mismatch. Alcantara 3-1 his last 4 in the UFC, 6-2 his last 8 in the UFC, and his only losses in that 6-2, Uriah Faber and Jimmy Rivera, who may end up being a future champion at that
Rivera's
division.
no joke.
Uriah Faber in the Hall of Fame. Alcantara is a legit
In that fight with Faber, he was beating his ass for the first half of that fight.
I mean, Uri Alcantara is real. This is one of those fights where at first you go, why are they fighting? It was kind of like Glover Teixeira, Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
You're like, why are these two fighting?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Lose.
This guy's not even a hot prospect. He's a 30-year-old, 30-plus, making your pro debut, and you weren't even good on the regional scene. Now you're suddenly going to come in and beat out a top 6 or 7 bantamweight in the world. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The only thing I could think is that Uri Alcantara, the Brazilian, they want to get him a fight kind of in front of his hometown crowd, and they didn't really have any other big 35-pound fights available, and this is what he got.
And I think the UFC, by putting Yuri with this Brian Kelleher, was kind of doing the same thing by putting Eric Silva with the NC Medeiros. Only difference is Eric Silva's a slight underdog. Yeah. So if you're going to do anything with this Yuri Alcantara, Brian Kelleher fight, he's minus 320, so there may be some value working him into a parlay, but I definitely don't see how Yuri could lose this one.
No, I don't either. And look, this Kelleher isn't even a big puncher. He's a wrestler. He's kind of one of those wrestle grinders, and you're not going to go to the ground to beat Yuri Alcantara, one of the best submission artists in the UFC. And on the feet, Yuri's just going to pick him apart. I think this is a complete mismatch and a showcase fight for Yuri Alcantara to give him another big fight.
And there you go. You talked me into another one. That'll take a little value out of the parlay, but why not do a 4-teamer now?
Why
I mean,
not?
a 4-pick.
Yeah, throw this one in there.
Throw this one in with
if you got a nice 2-fight parlay, because that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, throwing Eric Silva, Raphael Assunção in a parlay, but just to get a little bit more payoff, just throw Yuri in there as well. There's my 3-fight parlay.
Throw Yuri in there and then do the girls over.
Girls over, and you're going to be counting some hundreds by the time the fights are over.
And we are hot. I mean, we have been picking them.